So we're ready to go, I think. I don't know if Alejandro, you want to start with some words?
I can give some words.
Give us some words.
I'm giving too much words today, but so let's just start saying thanks to everybody from being here. Just sorry for some sense to prepare all those workshops and forum in this way and so fast, I think. So I have to really thanks to Tania, to Christian, to Ricardo, to Osvaldo, in fact, all that participate in the organization of this workshop. I was supposed to be part of this one in the organization, but finally I am the webmaster, and we have an expression in Chile, you know, the person in the cirque that have to do everything. But fortunately, there was the office of Eduardo and Felix and many people helping. Always in pandemic is a complication, but we are very happy to have this workshop. In fact, this was something that we wanted to do since more than 1 year, and we are using this time just for that. Yes, 1 year more. Almost 1 year ago, with Christine and the group in Israel from Nice, we organized a Smart-Agro meeting with some producers in Chile, and we decided that we needed to improve and go ahead with the cooperation, and we start to discuss about that. And this forum was kind of very good occasion to really go deep in that. We wanted to present each other, to see more researchers in Chile from Católica University, University of Chile, University of O'Higgins, also the INEA. Okay, so this is a very good moment to do that, and we hope that after this forum we will have some new ideas to collaborate and try to meet each other in concrete projects for the improvement of our agronomy, and also to put together people from different areas and fields that like also agro, even if we are mathematicians. Maybe we like the data, but also we would like to improve how we are doing agro in Chile and be part of this revolution of agro together. Yes, so I leave now the space to Tania and the organizers to go ahead with science and have a very, very good workshop.
Thanks a lot, Alejandro. I think, I don't know if we have some other words, Ricardo, or we go ahead into the program for the morning.
I think Christine from the French part has prepared some words also.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Well, thank you. It's a great honor for me to introduce also the Smart-Agro workshop during these French-Chilean academic days. And as Alejandro said, it's a second web conference in which we participate. The first one was more focused on applied research and innovation. It was organized by Alejandro, who contacted FedeFruta, the Federation of Small and Medium Fruit Producers, who want to introduce artificial intelligence approaches in their production methods. And we had great feedback from growers, from advisors. It was a really, really nice web conference, and we are very happy to participate to this second one.
Thank you very much. I guess now we can go into the presentations of the morning, and I'm going to start with the presentations. So I'm going to talk about, let me organize my desk here. So we're going to begin with talking about Smart-Agro in the Universidad Católica. And I think you're seeing my screen now, I assume. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of what is being done at the university right now. Just at the beginning, some numbers of the university for some of you that don't know about it. It was founded more than 100 years ago. It's ranked #1 university according to several rankings, although I think my friends from University of Chile will disagree. And among the top 3 in South America. It has 18 colleges, 5 campuses, and 6 regional stations, about 2,500 professors, 61 professional programs, more than 170 graduate programs, around 30,000 students, and with many programs for exchange and agreement. And as you may know, in Santiago, the university has 5 campuses, plus another one in southern Chile, in Villarrica. And there are 6 regional research stations along Chile. And here just some funky buildings from the San Joaquin campus. So I asked around at the university about all the people that were developing projects in Smart-Agro. And they were basically mainly persons from the College of Agriculture and Forestry. I think the engineers were a little shy this time, so maybe next time we'll have more input from the engineers and the mathematicians. So I'm going to start with the projects in data science and sensoring. And so we have Dr. Marcelo Miranda. He works in the Geomatic and Territory Lab, and he studies spatial temporal patterns emerging as a product of the interaction between the nature and humans in a landscape context. And he has a strong background in forest and landscape ecology, and has intense use of remote sensing data and methods for spatial analysis. And he has long-standing collaborations with Ian Rapens, professors like Audrey Alinier and Stephanie Aviron, and here's a shot of some of his recent publications. Dr. Marlene Ayala, she's from the Fruit Crops Lab, and she works with a lot of different issues regarding cherries mainly, and in some of her last projects is the study of protected growth of cherries using covers, but also manipulated the phenology within this protected environment through microclimatic control using photovoltaic energy. And the idea here is to protect the crops from climatic elements and environmental stress, but also manipulate the phenology, both things. And this is done through a careful monitoring of the environment and the plant. And I added here a collaboration that I have with Audrey Gress from University of Chile. So this is a joint area. And here Audrey did the fragmented landscape laboratory at University of Chile. And we have collaborated studying invasive species through citizen science and also other monitoring. And I don't know if you know, but citizen science is a big thing right now. And the data that they produce, it can be very large with large coverage. And for example, 50% of the records from the Global Biodiversity Information Facility are from citizen science. And we have a 10-year project in citizen science regarding this invasive coccinellid, and using also species distribution model we're studying the potential negative interaction of these invasive species with native species. Going through the area of mathematical modeling for better predictions from satellite to local sensors. I introduce here to Professor Francisco Mesa. He created and is leading the Global Change Center of the university. And he uses different models to study different aspects of plant production. And he sent me a couple of his recent publications or recent themes, which is, for example, the evaluation of the evapotranspiration of vineyards using two models and also teledetection. And the idea is that one model includes novel things like stomatic conductance models. And by comparing what happened with both models at different temporal scales, he had found that the one using stomatic conductance is a better predictor of the evapotranspiration. And also he's starting working in this vineyard data assimilation phenology model. Here, the idea is to evaluate phenology in vineyards using remote sensors and also including phenological models. And this integrated model have shown that improves the prediction of different phenological moments like bud break, flowering, and veraison. Next, I want to introduce to Professor Hector Valdes. He's from the Fruit Crops Phytopathology Lab. And he also has several lines of research, but the one that I want to show you here is the one about decision support strategies for disease control, also in vineyards, some of these in collaboration with Francisco Mesa, and he's looking at two very important diseases of the vineyards, which is powdery mildew and botrytis punch rot. And he's developing this decision support rule system to optimize fungicide application. This is the idea, to reduce the fungicide applications. And he's looking to different parameterization threshold for several cultivars, multi-season vineyards experiments, and testing and validation. And one of the research he has done is comparing this, model developed by France some years ago. So then he looked at the same model, how it would behave under Chilean conditions, for example, and how it can optimize fungicide applications. He's also in collaboration with Francisco Mesa, looking at climate change and disease predisposition in different wine valleys along Chile. The idea here is to use meteorological information, historical meteorological information, and use this Gabler-Thomas model for powdery mildew. And here you have an example of the prediction of the number of days in the bottom in this one of the valleys, important valleys for wine production in Chile. And as a future progress, he wants to look at the specialized estimation of phenology, first fungicide application, and number of application in these wine valleys. Also, a specialized estimation of the economic cost and the carbon footprint of these phytosanitary managements and applications, and the specialized estimation of all these variables under scenarios of climate change. And Hector has a long-standing collaboration with France. For example, in Bordeaux, Montpellier, Sub-Agro, in Avignon, Isara Lyon, and in Montpellier, I already said. So he has a long-standing interactions with French colleagues. Next, I want to introduce Juan Pablo Sofoli. He works in the post-harvest physiology and technology lab. And among his research, he has this line that is about the non-destructive prediction and detection of physiological disorders in asymptomatic fruit. to help decide storage time. So here the idea is that once you harvest the fruit, you want to know if they are more or less probable to develop some physiological disorders, and with that decide how long you're going to keep it in storage. He works with several disorders of apples, like internal browning, water core, bitter pit, and also in grapes, which is the rachis browning. And the idea use non-destructive equipment that they have developed in the lab, and several models to see how well this is predicted. And here I show you some pictures of his interesting machine and some of the disorders, how they progress through time, different disorders in apple. Here is some of his modeling and how different proportion of this particular disorder that is water core in apples, and the comparison of different models and which one would predict best what happens in time with this disorder. And here there are some other models for this other disorder that is bitter pit, and this has been recently published. And finally here, just a quick look at some of his models regarding this browning of the grape, the rachis of the grape. And finally, in this last part, the use of local biological agents. I think this is kind of like a small sibling of the more mathematical area, but I think I do believe this is smart agriculture, the use of biological agents. So I'm going to go ahead and present the researchers in this area in our college. First, we'll start with the small things. So Marlene Rosales, she works in the molecular phytopathology lab, and she specializes in viruses. She works in molecular and biotechnological approaches for the characterization and control of viral diseases, the genomic of virus detection and diagnosis, and host virus interactions. And in the area of use of local biologicals, she's working in a project to develop a bacteriophage cocktail for biocontrol of this important disease, Xanthomona campestris. Liliana Godoy also works with very small things. She has the laboratory of microbiology and yeast genetics. She works in several issues associated to wine and beer production, but in the particular line regarding this workshop, she's developing a project of the use of non-conventional yeast as a biocontrol agents against fungal pathogens. And here you have an example of 4 different fungal diseases, fungal pathogens, and different selection of yeast and the test regarding the control of these yeasts. And here is just another look of other type of assays she carries out regarding this this potential use of yeast as biocontrollers. Coming into a slightly larger organisms, this is me. I work on the fruit crops entomology, developing integrated pest management and biological control. And in this issue, I have worked in the past developing monitoring programs, so some math there, but also researching conservation biological control, looking at the landscape effects on pests and natural enemies, particularly looking at the effects on native species. Also, the use of augmented biological control of scaled insects. So this is to rear and release biocontrol agents and looking at the importance of native species there. And also everything related to biodiversity and biological control, from genes to landscapes, in between populations, communities, etc. And I also had some collaboration with French colleagues, particularly with INRA Sofia Antipolis, and we have developed in the past several EU projects and also some projects funded by Fondesit. And finally, I want to present Alejandra Munoz. She works in the agroecology laboratory, and we're going to an interaction of larger things. She has this project with the use of native flora to promote beneficial insects in fruit crops, particularly pollinators and pest natural enemies. She also is interested and works on functional biodiversity in agriculture. And she also looked at native fauna and fruit production and what are the interactions, positive and negative, in this context. And here you have some images of these beautiful native flowers that she had used to build these native flower strips along some fruit crops, and look at the what is the value of this native flora and how we can maybe even conserve native species within productive systems. And currently she has a collaboration with Manuel Plantagenet of AgroCampus West. And with that quick overview, I want to finish this presentation.
Thank you.
Excellent. So next in line is Philippe Castanon, I believe. Let me get, yes.
No, it's not Philippe, it's Pierre Abad, who will
sorry.
On behalf of Philippe, yeah, representing ISA.
Thank you.
Tanya,
yes.
Excuse me, just can we consider that the presentations will be sent to everyone?
Sure, and I'm also recording the presentations, so
okay,
we can leave a link.
Okay.
So Pierre, you are probably now able to share your screen. And I think so now Pierre is, I assume, managing his
I think his microphone is not is mute.
Let me see. Okay.
Yeah.
The
No.
presentation is okay or not?
It's
Yes.
okay. No.
Yeah.
You need to launch the presentation?
Yes. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
But not in
Yes.
presentation mode.
It's okay.
No, presentation.
Full screen?
Please.
Can you see in full screen the presentation or not?
Not in full screen.
Not in full screen now, okay.
No.
I don't know how to proceed to put this in full screen, so.
Well, it's okay. We can read it. No problem.
Yes, but
Try F5 on the keyboard.
F5.
On the keyboard once. Ouais, pardon, quand vous avez le PowerPoint ouvert là, lancez le. Là, on
F5?
voit votre. Non, il faut déjà ouvrir le PowerPoint. Il faut qu'il soit en
diaporama. That's okay, like that?
No.
No.
Peut-être vous devriez arrêter le partage d'écran et ensuite de repartager que le PowerPoint en question.
We're seeing your other screen.
Nice bird.
Do you have your
again.
presentation?
You have my presentation.
Okay,
Anyway.
let me,
Okay,
if you
because
want,
it's not.
I can share the screen
Okay.
and you let me know. I think that would be better.
Yeah. For everybody. So can you see now the presentation?
It's perfect.
Perfect, yes.
Okay, you let me know and I go with the slides.
Yes. Okay, so so the yes, hello everybody. So Philippe is not available this afternoon, so I try to make the presentation for the Institut Sophia Agrobiotech. Just a few words in less than 15 minutes about the Institut Sophia Agrobiotech. So the Institut Sophia Agrobiotech is supported by 3 research institutes, national research institute, INRAE, which is the French National Research for Agriculture, Food and Environment, with more than 8,000 permanent staff and more than 3,000 contract staff. The Université Côte d'Azur, which is labeled as intensive in research, in the top 3 of the world university. This is a multidisciplinary university with more than 35,000 students and with a permanent staff with 3,000 people. And the CNRS, which is the French National Center for Scientific Research, with more than 24,000 permanent staff, and which is the national research in a different area concerning technological, social, and cultural advanced research. Next slide. So the Institut Sophia Agrobiotech next slide, please.
Okay.
Yes, so so where are you located? We are also located in southwest of France, and the Université Côte d'Azur is spread along the territory from Nice to Cannes. So, and we are located in close to Antibes, what we call in Sophia Antipolis, and so our institute is called Institut Sophia Agrobiotech, and the research is dealing with plant health and environmental sciences. Next slide, please.
I think it's a little slow in my side.
It's okay for you?
Yeah.
It's not for me, so. So the next slide is, it's really difficult for me to follow the. So on the next slide, I think that we are located in Sophia Antipolis, which is the, the first European science park with more than 2,000 companies employing more than 30,000 people from different nationalities. And in this area, we are about 40,000 researchers and 5,000 students. And the Institut Sophia Agrobiotech is constituted by more than a lot of square meters of laboratory, office, and greenhouses with facility with different rooms, room from climate control rooms. Next slide. So the Institut Sophia Agrobiotech, this is, we can see that this is the total workforce of more than 200 people with a permanent staff of more than 100 people. And it's difficult for me. Okay, so Yes, this is the good slide. Okay. Okay. We are, and about more than 12 teams are working in this institute. Next slide. Okay. So the research that are developed in the institute are related to acute society issues. And because our agricultural model is questioning, and with a different concern with the use of massive input products, and the fact that this use of massive input affect the environmental and biodiversity, and then there is a need for to reduce impact on environment, and the fact also that due to the increasing number of population, there is a need for increasing production and better quality of food. So plant health represent a major issue at the interface between agriculture and environment to reconcile demands for grow and change with conservation of environmental resources. Next slide. So the scientific project of the Institute is to study the biotic interaction that takes place around the cultivated plant in order to develop innovative strategies for plant health. And in this case, next slide, for that purpose, because we have an animation of the, we develop this biotic interaction with different plant pest and beneficial organisms. For plant health is mainly nematode, insect, and oomycetes, and for beneficial organisms is mainly bacteria, symbiotic and symbiotic bacteria, and also different kind of insect that can control other type of insects. Okay, next slide. So the key question for all the people who work in the Institute is, what are the factors that drive the success or failure of this different type of interaction? And for that purpose, we develop studies from genes and molecules to the agrosystem through studies based at the individual level, population, and community. Next slide. So in the Institut Sophia Agrobiotech, we developed 6 different priorities in the Institute. The first one is in relation to plant response to biotic stress, mainly at the molecular level. The second priority is to develop, to have a better knowledge of the pathology of virulence and the basis of the biotic specificity of this pathogen or parasites. And this is mainly at the molecular level. The third priority is to identify the determinant of the success or failure of invasive population, mainly at the population levels. The fourth priority is related to theoretical ecology and behavior of communities, mainly on ecology. So, and trying to develop and to modeling the spatio-temporal dynamic of the interactions. And finally, is to try to put together these different priorities in order to develop engineering, to agroecology engineering, to develop innovative tools for plant health protection. So these 6 priorities can be divided and grouped in mainly 3 main axes, identifying the determinant of the interaction at different trophic levels. And for that, we promote the central place for evolutionary approach based on analytical approach, bioinformatics, and genomic comparatives based on the interaction between plant and these different kind of compound, plant and also insect, on the interaction between insect and parasitoid, for example. The second priority, the second main resource axis is a transdisciplinary approach, genetics, ecology, and application, based on the study of the biology of evolution, of invasion, and the biological control, because in both cases we use some of the, in these two cases, excuse me, we can find some identical process, such as some demogenetic process that can affecting population. And for this approach, we developed mainly is based on biological population and different modelization. The third one is toward a more predictable ecology. So for that, we try to understand the spatial and temporal evolution of species and community in agrosystem by developing modeling approach, statistical model, and experimental approach together and combining these all approaches. Next slide. And for this theoretical approach, we develop these approaches at the population level and at the community level by modeling the dynamic of the spatio-temporal interaction in culture, by modeling the use of plant resistance to study its sustainability, the stability of this plant resistance. We develop also some studies based on the behavior and ecological of insect movement during the spatio-temporal system of the ecosystem. We develop also multi-trophic interaction and their impact on the biological control and the impact of the agroecological development in biological regulations. Next slide. All this study is trying to converge through and to contribute to innovation for sustainable agriculture in order to promote agroecology approaches in cropping system by, for example, improving alternative of sustainable crop method protection, such as plant resistance, biological control, and integrated pest management, and also trying to assess the risk associated to the introduction of new pests or new biological control organisms. Next slide. So for these studies, we have scientific infrastructure in the institute based on analytical platforms, bioinformatics, cellular biology and microscopy, and analytical biochemistry, and also genomics, and also some experimental facilities with different climate control room and greenhouses and quarantine areas, and also some biological resource, mainly on parasitoids collection. Next slide. So we have this is the international network collaboration of academic collaboration of the different teams of ISA through the world. As you can see, we have a lot of collaboration with the different countries in Europe, but also in China, US, Canada, and Brazil. Next slide. And also, we are also included with a social economic environment. And we have a lot of research contracts with different private companies in plant breeding, biological control, and plant simulation. All are in relation to agroecological approach. And we have also linked with different, we have also staff in the institute from different companies such as Bioline, MAN, and Bicofito, and Nix. All these kind of, three of them are, two of them, Bicofito and Nix, are more or less startup or small company. And Bioline and MAN has quite a strong group working in this field. Okay, next slide. Just a few words about yes, but it's not, it's in relation to the teaching. So of course we are involved in graduation studies and also in Master of Life Science and also in MSc related to biocontrol solution and plant health, and also for graduate school, life science. Next slide, and I think that I finished with this. Okay, so just to conclude to indicate that Sophia Agrobiotech constitutes a unique set of skills in France, working together in a concerted manner with on plant health challenges, and constitute a continuum of basic and applied science to ensure standing in the field of plant health. And that's it, I think. Thank you for attention. And of course, I discussed mainly about the institute and not about people, okay? So, of course, for all this team and the institute, we have a contact person. And if you want to have some detail about that, I think that Christine can give you the name of these people.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I think we can go ahead with our next presentation. Octavio, you should be able to share your screen.
So the
Perfect.
question always is, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for this invitation to this academic forum. I was invited by Mauricio Chobitz from the Faculty of Agronomy, and more than a talk of what our institution, what our University of Concepción is doing in a smart farm or smart agriculture, he asked me to what we are doing in CRIAM. CRIAM is a center of water resources for agriculture and mining. And what are we doing in this technological water consortium about a topic related with smart farm. So I am not going to, sorry, but I'm not going to present a summary of what my colleagues are doing in this area, but I just saw that Christian Correa from our university joined this meeting. Probably in the discussion, he also can add some work or development that he is doing in this topic. He's very well related in smart farm and robotics and all those things. In our group in CRIAM, we are working a lot in evapotranspiration and trying to see and be more clear on the amount of water that orchards are using. For the colleagues in French, our university is located south. This blue dot is like Santiago, and we are in the south. We have 3 campuses, one in Concepción on the coast, and other 2 campuses more near to the Central Valley, and around 300 kilometers from the capital. All this work is in cooperation with some colleagues, Camilo Souto and Daniel Zacaria in California, and also some of our PhD student, Lorenzo Cigarra. That's why I put their names there. So today, what I want to talk is about evapotranspiration and what are we doing in that particular topic and with who we are collaborating. So the first research is about how we are trying to improve our estimation of evapotranspiration, but focus on evaporation mainly, and how we can use that at a farm scale, thinking in smart irrigation and smart farming. So basically, orchards are like the figure that you have in the right. The orchards are areas that are partially vegetated. There's one area that has canopy, has vegetation, and other areas that are only soil. Also, this occurs early in the growing season for annual crops, and where we have a row with canopy and another area with bare soil. So totally T, as you can see, is the sum of transpiration and also evaporation beneath the canopy and evaporation between rows. So when we saw those differences, when we measured those differences on orchards, This is a blueberry orchard, and we measure with this edicovariant systems. This is net radiation in the left for that. In green, we have a net radiation between rows. In blue, we have net radiation above the canopy. The other graph is soil heat flux, and the same thing, above the canopy and between rows. So those two surfaces are very different on those components, and also are very different in evapotranspiration and the amount of water that those surfaces are transporting to the atmosphere. So that is why we are very interested on those conditions that are very common in our irrigated orchards. What else happened in micro irrigated orchards in Chile? We have partially wetted conditions. So the irrigated system also partially wet, the soil. So we have a soil beneath the canopy that is always more or less wet, and there are other areas that are dry. So evaporation in these two conditions are very different. And if we want to be more efficient in the water use, we need to know this number. We need to know how much of total ET represent this soil evaporation. This is a satellite, it's a drone image, and you can see the wet areas and the crown of the trees here, more or less. So we include all this in some model that we call surface energy balance model. It's more like a Pena-based model separating both surfaces and trying to estimate the fluxes and resistances and estimate every component of the energy balance and total ET basically, and trying to separate total ET in transpiration and also in evaporation. The models has the same inputs the other common models, and we try this with the colleagues in California and in vineyards and two Cabernet sites in Colorado County in California. This is close to Sacramento. This is a drip irrigated orchard, and it's a rocky loam soil. And this area, in each site, we measure every component of the energy balance, like net radiation, like sensible heat with the sonic anemometer, like soil heat flux, like soil water content. So every variable that define the water demand, and we measure evaporation with microlysimeters after a couple of irrigation events, trying to see how much water is lost by evaporation and how much water is transpirated by the canopy. And we compare the model with the measurements, obviously. And I'm not gonna go in details, but trying to show you here that the results show that basically there is a good correlation between the model and the measurements. So when we compare daily values, the model correlate well with the measurements. And when we see the soil evaporation contribution to total ET, we can see ranges from 5% to 45%. These numbers here at the top are the days after the irrigation event, obviously, and this proportion start to reduce after every day pass. So in average, the contribution during this small experiment, the contribution to total ET from evaporation was 21%. So it's a big number. It's a big number that is important if we want to be more efficient in the use of water for irrigation. So can be as much as 40%. If we irrigate very often, also the contribution to soil from soil evaporation to totality is also higher. We repeat this idea here in Chile in hazelnuts, the same kind of instrumentation, sulfur renewal in an orchard, microlysimeters, but in this case we have two two sides. One is with the micro sprinkler versus a drip irrigation. Micro sprinkler has a higher percentage of wet soil and we expect higher evaporation. And again, this is we calibrate the model and run the model and compare the model with the measurement during 2 growing seasons. This is 1 year, this is another year. So this is model, this is estimated in hourly base, and here is a daily base or millimeters per day. So the correlation is good, and we are confident that the model can reproduce what we are measuring in the field. And when we compare the whole season, and this is cumulative values, so at the top is for the micro sprinkler for 2 seasons, 2017 to 2018, and this is the other drip irrigated field. So blue and red are the cumulative total ET, so very well correlated. But we are focused on evaporation. Evaporation is the green one here. And when we compare the annual contribution of evaporation to seasonal ET, in the micro sprinkler was 24 to 28%, and in the drip was 15 to 18%. So it's a big contribution, again, to total ET, and to know this number, I think is very important if we want to be more efficient in the water use, or if we want to be more smart in irrigation. What about at a farm scale? Well, at a farm scale, normally we use images, satellite images, drone images, trying to estimate the spatial variability of evapotranspiration in one orchard. So we use the same previous models, but now in pixel by pixel. So these models are physically based, so it's not really difficult to apply the model pixel by pixel and see what happened in one particular whole field. So we test, obviously, this model. These are the results for the hazelnut orchard that is near to our campus here in Chillán, here in this red polygon. And when we compare measurement with estimations, again, it's a good correlation between all components of the energy balance. We did this also with the colleagues in California. We did it here in Chile, hazelnut, but for mandarins in California. We did in California also for pistachio, table grapes here in collaboration with the INEA. So all these are 127 images in different sites, trying to see that this idea works and that we are confident with the numbers that we are collecting. All of this is possible. You know, when we measure the energy components in one particular orchard, this is very expensive. To have 4 or 5 sites is super expensive. So we need to collaborate. We need to work with other colleagues, not only here in Chile, but also in other places. California for us is a very common partner because the climate is very similar and the crops also are very similar. But here in Chile, we are also collaborating with the University of Católica. I think Francisco Mesa also is here in the public with INEA. As someone mentioned, INEA is our National Institute of Research. They provide the numbers for table grapes in the north. So with all this group, we create this technological consortium, technological water consortium, trying to collaborate more in these ideas of water resources and to be more efficient. So what are we doing? Basically producing this map that we estimate ET, but not only this, but also transpiration and soil evaporation, looking for being more precise or more smart, we can say, in irrigation. Today, we are trying to move to 3D estimations. These 3D models can be obtained taking several images from drones, so we can reproduce the the 3D dimension of one particular orchard. The idea is to include these 3D models in our current model. It's more easy to see the crop height. It's more easy to see the volume of the canopy. It's more easy to see the density of the crown of the tree. And all those 3D information is more precise than the 2 dimension that we are running with the models today. So the percentage of the cover, we will see more clear the percentage of the wet soil or the roughness. The roughness is very important for the transport of heat or the transport of water to the atmosphere. So the idea is produce these models of vegetation indexes and 3D models of evapotranspiration and see now the spatial variability, but in 3 dimension of one particular orchard, and see how we can improve the water use efficiency, considering the orchard as a whole, as an entire entity or entire unit. That, I think, it takes my 15 minutes. So thanks again for the invitation. This is one small component of the research that we are doing under these 2 projects. I'm sure Mauricio showed it, or in the other workshops, topics are also showing what my other colleagues are doing in this or related with the work that the university is doing in this area. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Octavio. Philippe has his hand raised, and you're also the next speaker. So, and you should be able to show your screen too. So
no, not yet, because can I ask a question to Octavio before starting the next?
Because we're running very late.
Yes, Octavio, thank you for your presentation. I'm very impressed by your work. I'm just wondering if the model you have presented about the trees in the 3D modeling with the evapotranspiration, etc., could be applied for rooftop on urban area for activities about urban heat islands and the mitigation we can have with the vegetation on the roof. Did you think about this type of thing? Because it could be very useful and very, very, very interesting to apply your work on urban area on roof.
Yeah, one of the good thing of this type of model that we always discuss with our colleagues is that it is a model that is physically based. So you can apply in any surface if you took your variables are like physical variables. So doesn't need a calibrate. Well, always model need to be calibrated, but when are physically based, it is more easy. We are measuring physical quantities, so we are measuring, or we are estimating temperature, we are estimating fluxes, we are estimating albedo, things that are physically common or are physically make sense. So in roof or other surfaces that are super different, I think we need to take with more care the model. If those surfaces are more far of what we are working normally with vegetation, but I think it's possible, absolutely.
Right. Should consider it, I think. Thank you very much, Octavio. So I see that, it's my turn.
Exactly, you're next, and you should be
I'm
able
next.
to share.
Yeah, try. Should see now my screen.
It's coming up.
Oh, yes, it's up and starting. Can you see my screen?
Not really.
What do you see?
We see a line only, Philip. So
maybe there is a lag between now.
Sure.
Yes, I know what it is. I mean, pause. I don't know why it's paused. Yes, maybe. Now?
No,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much, everyone. So, first of all, I want to thank you, Christine, for having invited me for this presentation. It was not very clear because I'm new in this community, I'm very happy to be there. First of all, sorry, I'm Philippe Blanc, I'm professor in MINPARITech, and I'm the head of the department Energy and Processes of this engineering school. And I would like to make a presentation, a short presentation, in between about solar energy and agroecological transition, but in between a sort of general comments, because I was not aware of exactly the objective of this workshop, and some presentation of the work we are doing. So I try to make a mix between. I hope that it will be of interest for you. So first of all, we belong to the new university created in 2010, Paris Sciences Lettres, PSL. It's a small university compared to yours, Tanya. It's a small one. And among all the different institutions we have in this university, we are in MINPARITech, which is an engineering school, even smaller, with less than 400 students, engineers, master, PhD, and executive training. And in this engineering school, we have 18 research centers from materials, energy, geosciences, mathematics, and social sciences, sorry. And I'm working on the center, Observation, Impact, and Energy. It's a small team of 25 people in Sophia Antipolis. Even if we are in MINPARITech, we are also in Sophia Antipolis, the same place close to the one from Pierre and Christine. And so we are using Earth observation. We have seen some presentation of satellites and in situ measurements, so we are interested in Earth observation. And we are using this Earth observation to analyze the environmental impacts of renewable energy and to assess the amount of energy we can get out of renewable energies. So you have here a presentation of all the publication we have on that subject. Of course, I will send you the presentation to get the links correctly. So about the energy and agriculture challenge, yeah, we know that food sector is 30% of global energy usage. And if you look at the agriculture only, it's 3 to 5% of the global energy use. And you can see there all the energy supply we need to provide the value chain of agriculture. So it's very generic. And if we are looking at the global greenhouse gas emission for sectors, we can see that agriculture and forestry and land use is about 80.4% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. But we have also to look at the part of the energy in agriculture and fishing, from energy, just the part of the energy. And we can also look at the whole value chain, including the food and tobacco, maybe, contribution to the GHG emission due to energy. So there is something about the energy and agriculture because of the climate change mitigation. If we are looking at the global land use for food production, we can see that among the world land we have at our disposal, 51 million square meters are available for agriculture. I give this type of figures because the next slide will show you the huge amount of energy we can get from the sun. It's larger than 175 million gigawatt each time, instantaneous power. And it means that in less than 60 minutes, we get from the sun the total primary energy consumption in 2020. So it's a huge amount of energy coming from the sun. Of course, a part of this energy is taken by the atmosphere, and we can only get a part of this. But if we look at this part of this that we can convert, this exercise, just in mind, to have this in mind, if we are covering this area of less than 800 kilometers per 800 kilometers. We can provide with a PV system, a standard one, not a very fancy one, horizontal PV system. This PV system on that area would provide exactly in 1 year the amount of energy we are consuming, all energy included. So it corresponds to more or less 100 terawatt peak of photovoltaics, and it corresponds to more or less 1.5% of the land use for agriculture. So it gives us the scale of what we are talking about the amount of energy, the land use, and the solar energy. Of course, if we are talking about solar energy powering the agriculture, the first thing that, of course, we have to know, and I don't teach you anything about this, of course, and I'm already open door. It's the first place is the photosynthesis. So I won't go into detail, but I want to introduce something that we are interested in, is the photosynthetically active radiation, which is a part of the solar radiation we are also interested in assessing in our laboratory. We are not exactly focused on energy, but we are interested also in the PAR radiation that be of interest for your community. Okay, if I'm looking at the solar energy powering agriculture, it's not very new. And we can see from I don't know if you know this very nice book, Let It Shine, from John Perlin in 2013. You can see that the greenhouse is coming from the 16th century. And we can also see some activities about fruit walls, so thermal solar energy in around the 18th century, and something that we can also use as an optimization with tilted plant on which you can have some fruit walls, sorry, and to optimize the amount of energy you can get from the sun at a yearly basis. So it's very interesting to have this type of optimization that we have already for solar energy now in our century. So about the solar water pumping, okay, still from the same book, you can see that it comes from the early 20th century, and so you can see here parabolic trough already in Egypt, feeding water pumping systems. So it was the characteristic was there. So it's very it is something that we should think that it's totally new, but no, we have already this more than 100 years ago. So it's very interesting to see this solar energy in a perspective of the time. Of course, we have many activities and many examples, notably in France, about solar energy powering agriculture. So we can think about the floating photovoltaic that is of interest, for example, in the group of irrigators in the Atlantic Pyrenees. So they want to mitigate the increase of the cost of the grid electricity for their need of water pumping. It's for the moment they are in this group of irrigators, they are spending more than 1 million euros per year for this water pumping, and so they are very anxious about the increase of the electricity costs. And in other hand, they have some artificial lakes for water storage and for the farm and crop irrigation. And so these are some surface on which you can imagine to have floating PV. So it's very interesting to have this emerging way of implementing photovoltaics that is completely new and completely contemporary. So we have also a nice example of a new way of doing the marketing, gardening. So it's close to the Sophia Antipolis. It's in a Sol village, and the Petits Loups Maraîchers are doing some e-maraîchage. Yes, a new way of using renewable energy. Storage. The storage is coming from the mechanical system. So we have an electric vehicle for doing this mechanical work. And this vehicle has its own energy storage that can be used also for storage energy for the irrigation, for example, or for operating some greenhouse, smart greenhouse. So it's very interesting to have this new way of using renewable energy for small e-marketing market gardening. Of course, I won't teach you anything about the solar greenhouse technology. We can think about the passive solar greenhouse, the greenhouse integrated photovoltaics, the one with concentrated photovoltaics and thermal, providing with both electricity and thermal energy that you can store with thermal energy storage. So we have plenty of innovation in that domain. But we can also think about the agriculture, not only solar energy for powering agriculture, but agriculture can also power solar energy as well to decrease the amount of greenhouse emission from the agriculture. For example, in France, already 20% of the renewable energy, meaning 3.5% of the total energy production, is coming from agriculture. And you can see that only 30% is coming from solar PV. And from the perspective provided by IDEM, the idea is to increase the different sources of renewable energy coming from agriculture. And one of them is photovoltaic, coming from 1 terawatt-hour per year to 70.5 terawatt-hour in the horizon on 2050. So it is very interesting to see how agriculture will contribute more and more on the renewable energy sources. So if we are looking about solar innovation, we can think about, of course, the emerging bifacial photovoltaics, which is a game changer in the domain of solar energy, notably in agrovoltaic. And you can see an example of implementation of vertical east-west bifacial PV. And I don't want to go into details, but you get almost the same amount of energy for energy purpose, the same amount of transmitted irradiation for the PAR, for the photosynthetically active radiation, while you give more space to the farm machinery and for the rainfall, and also a better resilience with respect to the PV soiling and snow cover. So it's very interesting. And we have a nice German SME provided next to Sun, providing such implementation of vertical bifacial PV. We can also looking at the TSE, which is a French SME, providing with project about PV canopy. So it is something that is above the crop, above also the livestock, also not only the crops. It's 5 meter height, 27 meter width, so no problem for the farm machinery. The fact that it's a bifacial PV with rotating solar tracking system, smart tracking system, provide with a large amount of energy to balance the financial aspect of this project, while proposing some services to make a protection against climate hazard. Freeze, hail events can be protected with such a PV panel, rotating PV panel. And you can also have some regulation of the amount of energy for the crop, because you can protect, if necessary, the crop from too much solar radiation while producing energy. So it's very of interest. I want to have a few words about the landscape transformation with the energy and agriculture. So we have presently a PhD student, Joris Mazafon. He's a landscape designer working with us, and École Nationale Supérieure de Paysage. And we developed some ideas, for example, for the site requalification of a thermal power plant. It's just an idea like this with a solar tower concentration system. And you can see that the heliostat, the mirror that's concentrating the solar radiation, live in the same place as the trees and fruit development and agriculture. Of course, it's a project just to have in mind that we can imagine some hybridization, very specific hybridization between agriculture and solar energy, not only on PV systems. Okay, I script this. It's the idea is to see how PV system can change the landscape in the valley, in the countryside of Nice, on which you can develop some high-scale PV system in a place where there is nothing else but for the agriculture development. And thanks to the amount of energy you can get out of this PV system, you can fund some greenhouse PV powered system for agriculture and restart the agriculture in this countryside. So the idea is to provide energy not only for the grid, but also for the territory to change and to move forward. So we are providing some in our research center. We are providing some satellite-based resource assessments. So we are providing with satellites and in situ measurements some solar database that you can get, and notably you can get worldwide some clear sky modeling for free thanks to the Copernicus atmospheric monitoring services. We are looking at also ultraviolet and photosynthetically active radiation estimations. So you have some element in that site, and we are starting now since July 2021 neural project PAREO, exactly focused on PAR and Earth observation. Okay, sorry. Okay, I don't want to go into detail. Just want to say that the bifacial PV is raising new problems for us in the solar resource assessment, because when you have a single standard PV, you are only interested in the front face of the PV. Now we are interested in both the front and the rear of the PV. And then the energy you can get from the ground is very important now, much more important than a standard PV. And for that, we need information about the bidirectional reflectance from the ground. And this bidirectional reflectance for agri-photovoltaics is closely related to the health of the crop, for example. So we are interested in having some information, and maybe the PV system itself can be a way to monitor the health of the plants. Why not? We can think about type of synergy between energy and agriculture, including the way we are monitoring the farm and the crop. Thank you very much. And this nice image shows that sometimes you may have some problem between livestock and PV panels. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Philippe. Very nice presentation and issue here right now, how to combine solar energy and solar panels with agriculture.
It was quick. I'm sorry, it's a very short term, but I hope that it was interesting enough.
Yes, thanks a lot. Now I want to leave you with Alvaro Pena from University of Chile. I think, Alvaro, you should be, yes.
Oh, can you see my, yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour pour tous en France. I will present the projects and the lines we have in the Faculty of Agronomical Science, just some numbers of our university. The University of Chile is the main public university in the country. And we have 14 faculties, 15 research centers, 1 clinical hospital, and 1 symphonic orchestra and a national ballet. And in the campus we have in Santiago, there are 5. Our faculty is located in the south area, in the south campus, and we share the campus with the faculties of forestry, veterinary science, and are not close, but are 50 minutes for us with the National Nutrition Institute, but sorry, the National Institute of Nutrition and Food Technology, that is the INTA. In relation with our faculty in the Smart-Agro current projects and collaboration, I will start with the areas of data science and sensory and mathematical modeling for better prediction from satellites to local sensors. And there are many areas and projects in the 7 departments we have in the faculty. And I would like to introduce AgriMed, that is the Center of Agriculture and Environment. The director of the center is Dr. Fernando Santibáñez. And they have different research lines, such as generation of high spatial resolution climate mapping, developing of simulation models of agriculture and fruit crop yields, watershed water management models, vulnerability and adaptation of agriculture to climate change scenarios, modeling of desertification and development of environmental indicators, and modeling and analysis of relationship established between human activity and the natural environment. They carry out some projects, and besides some services, and this one, it's a good example of that. They have developed a system that calls Gestión Productiva Inteligente. The translation is Smart Production Management. And it's a system that processes information for field sensors, visual and remote sensing observation, and analyzes data and generates reports that fit the technical team from the center, from AgriMed, and the management team of the center. And they give the service for farmers in the country. Besides, they develop some projects. This is one example of that. This project is development of an interactive reference system to establish homoclimates of Chile and the world, a tool to design adaptation strategies for agriculture and biological research against climate change and water scarcity. And it's a project that uses models in different scales, national, regional, and global, to get to reach their aims. In the Natural Resources Department, Dr. Mauricio Galleguillos led the project CR2 Soil Grids, a national grid soil information. And the objective of this project is a system for digital soil mapping based on national compilation of soil profile data and environmental layers. And they use different models, and the outputs they look for from this project is a national soil property maps at 6 standard depth intervals at a spatial resolution of 250 meters. Continue with soil. This project led by Dr. Osvaldo Salazar. The name is Modeling of Net Nitrogen Mineralization in the Agrosystems of Chile, and the objective is evaluate and model the relationship between net nitrogen mineralization rates and the soil types and environmental factors in the most important agroecosystem in Chile. And by using different parameters and factors, they use the DAISY model for simulating net nitrogen mineralization, and finally evaluate the impact of different climate change scenarios on the net nitrogen mineralizations in the agrosystems of the country. Continue with soils. This project is TechnoSoils. It's a collaborative waste management for soil rehabilitation contaminated by mining activity that is led by Dr. Gerardo Soto from the Natural Resources Department too. And the objective is to implement a collaborative, sustainable circular management system of environmental liabilities for use and TechnoSoils to control soil contamination from mining activity. And as you know, one of the problems of mining activity that's very important in our country is soil pollution. And they look for use large volumes of waste from other industries, mainly agriculture, to design specific TechnoSoils allows converting large areas. Continue with the soil. Dr. Marco Pfeiffer led the project Effect of Irrigation on Soil Inorganic Carbon Balance. And the objective of his project is evaluate and model the contribution of soil inorganic carbon in carbon sequestration in soils of Mediterranean region of Chile. In the area of water resources, this project led by Dr. Rodrigo Fuster, it's a dynamic water demand model applicable to water resources management at the river basin level. And the objective is develop a model to determine crop water demand more accurately based on freely available satellite information. And the main results they expect correspond to a dynamic model to allow determining the water demand at temporal and spatial scale in accordance with the information necessary for decision making at the extra farm level. And they use mainly free satellite data and meteorological information, as in the project that they are developing together with this, that is the next one, that is transfer system of real crop evapotranspiration model for sustainable water management. And the objective in this case is development an informatics platform to massively transfer water demand modeling capabilities in a territorial scale in real time. By using a model in that estimate the water demand of crops every 8 days, they create a platform to automate the process of downloading and process this satellite information. And finally, they transfer this capacity and monitoring of water demand to water users of organizations in the country. In another complete different area, Dr. Victor Escalona for the Department of Plant Production, it's leading the project Novel Applied Lighting in Growing System for Leaf Horticultural Crops. And the aim of this project is understand the effect of spectrum and intensities of power applied by LED on functional value, mainly different functional compounds, and sensor quality of colored cultivars of leafy vegetables and microgreens. And they use for this project sensors for data collections, remote control and monitoring, and automation. In the last area, use of biological agents, we have 3 lines. The first one is the use of rhizobacteria in nematodes control, led by Dr. Erwin Abayay. And he's leading 2 projects. The first one is use of native rhizobacteria for specific control of golden nematode of potato. And the second one is use of rhizobacteria to improve root development and health in sweet cherry trees. And other line is the use of bacteria in fungi control of good diseases in Vitis vinifera, led by Dr. Jaime Montalegre. And he has 2 projects that are development of an effective biological control tool with elicitor protective effect against infections caused by Botrytis species in Vitis vinifera. And the next is development of bioformulation with properties of elicitor effect on growth promoter for control of Diplodia seriata in vine. Finally, the last line is the use of native yeast and bacteria for organic wine production. In this case, it's led by Dr. Carla Jara, and she has been carried out 2 projects in the line of microbiological fingerprint of Chilean wines, use of native yeast strains associated with the denomination of origin of production of premium wines. And in these projects, they studied the yeast fermentation kinetics from early models of microbial growth to genome scale metabolic models. To finish, just the collaborations we have at this moment, we have collaborations with INRA, l'Institut de Recherche de Développement, INRAE, CIRAT, le Centre d'Écologie Fonctionnelle Évolutive, l'Université d'Orléans et l'Université Paul Valéry Montpellier 3. That are the collaboration at this moment. And of course, our faculty has signed many different agreements with different institutions across the world, and especially France is very important for our faculty too. Thank you very much for your attention. And that's my presentation, Tanya. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Alvaro, for that overview of what you guys are doing in our sister college.
Yes.
And now, I think Jaime, you should be able also to share your screen.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to put my presentation. Let me share the screen, please.
I think you should be able, yes.
It's okay. Can you? No, I think that it's a problem. Can you see the presentation or not?
Half of it.
Half of it.
There.
Okay.
There it is.
Let me.
No. Oh.
No, it was okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me. Now.
Yes.
Okay. Well, firstly, thanks a lot for the invitation. I'm going to present some ideas of Smart-Agro, but from the Faculty of Engineering, in particular from CMM. CMM is a laboratoire de recherche internationale du CNRS. The aim of the CMM is to create new mathematics for applications. We're mathematicians, but we are interested to the use of mathematics for new applications in different areas. Okay. Well, the first thing when we are talking about Smart-Agro is quite difficult to separate several topics. The Smart-Agro is very well connected with ecosystem services. Okay. When we are talking about ecosystem services, there appear several applications in Smart-Agro. That there is a provisioning service, regulation service, the water, the provision of food, the good, and several of them.
Tanto tiempo. Bien, ¿y tú?
Can you stop there is a microphone there. Okay.
Done.
Okay. Okay, and for that reason, we are interested into study the ecosystem services and how to improve the ecosystem services. This is in one our idea. Okay, well, where is our work is matter? Our work is how we can use the big data, how you use artificial intelligence, how to use a remote sensing, how you use the high performance computer to generate new tools and to give some answers. This is our main idea. Okay, one important thing here is Copernicus. I'm sure that most of you know very well what is Copernicus. Copernicus satellite program of the European community is completely open, free, with several different sensors, optical, radar, for oceans, and so on. But the good news for us that Chile signed an agreement with the European community a couple of years ago in order to Chile can have a repository, a local repository of Copernicus in Chile. This had a lot of advantages when we want to download the image. But not only that, the main thing is if you have a national repository here in Chile, you can generate a lot of activity around satellite image. For that reason, we are interested in this, and CMM is in charge of this repository. Okay, and the main thing is, for one side, we have a local repository. It's a web page where the people everywhere can download the image directly from our computers. But not only, we have a reference centers generating activities, seminars every 2 weeks where people from different areas can explain their application. We're organizing hackathon, and I profit to in the next week we'll have a workshop about climate change with the people of GNCC from UK. But this is a lot of activity. Okay, but what is the thing in which we are interested? We are interested in something called, the people call geointelligence. What is a geointelligence? It's how the mathematical modeling, the remote sensing, the satellite image, the data analysis, and the high performance computer can give you some answers. When we want to analyze images, for instance, radar image, each radar image is 6 giga of information, and you have a stack of a radar image, you have a lot of information, and you need to process this. For that reason, you can process this in your notebook. You need to use a supercomputer, and this is Leftaru Wakolda, which is the supercomputer where it is located in our national laboratory in CMM. For that reason, Copernicus helps us keeping our planet healthy. This is the good thing. Okay. In which kind of problem we are involved with? Well, firstly, there is a lot of cooperation with several different units of the faculty, in particular with our colleagues from agronomy. Okay, Alvaro presented the project of restoration of life, how you can create new cover or create soil for different places. For instance, in mine tailing, and this is a cooperation with the people of agronomy, where Copernicus can have a good use also, but there are a lot of problems. One of the big problems now in Chile is water, and not only in Chile, it's a global problem. And what happened with glacier? This is another important topic. In particular, there is some kind of glacier called rock glacier, which they are not can see very fast, very easy, because they are not covered snow. They are covered by rocks. For that reason, it's very difficult to get them. And one interesting project how you can combine artificial intelligence, remote sensing to monitor this kind of glacier. This is very important because when the agriculture need water, all the activities need water, and how much water you have is very important to know. Okay. Uh, this is you can see here. This is a picture of a glacier in Alaska. In around 60 years, some of them have completely disappeared, and this is a big problem. Okay, and Chile have around the 80% of the glacier of South America, and this is very important to know what happened with them. Okay. Another interesting problem is what happened with the aquifer. Okay, there are a lot of very well-known places in which you can see that the agriculture activity, the agriculture activity, the mining activity are dry in the aquifer. And for that reason, it's very important to know what's happening with them. And the artificial intelligence with satellite image, in particular radar image, the use of ISAR, satellite interferometry, can help us to know and understand what happened with this. Okay, you can monitor in this kind of thing. This is a project ongoing with people from different departments of our faculty, and in particular with CMM and CAPTA, which is IDRIX consortium. Okay, but this is not only. There is some experience also in which the precision agriculture in combining in collaboration with people from agronomy department, the 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 land use, the crop prediction can be studied with this, but it's important to create better mathematics to understand with it with the use of artificial intelligence. Okay, there is another idea also in pest monitoring. Okay, this is a project in collaboration with National Agriculture Services and the people of Faculty of Agronomy, where they want to study what happened with the healthy of the land use of the land and the different one. About energy, there is an experience interesting about the things that present Philippe. The geothermal energy, in particular the low enthalpy geothermal, is very important as has some experience in Chile. Chile in Chile, the geothermal energy is an important source of energy. Of course, solar one in the north of Chile, but geothermal energy also has an importance. And also, what happened with the greenhouse gases, it's important to have a real monitoring system, and also to know what happened with the emission inventories. Okay, in particular, there are some countries where the emission inventory is very difficult to know, and for that reason, once again, the satellite image, the remote sensing, can help to understand, to know that. Okay, there is an ongoing project with the CEPAL, with the Commission for Latin America, Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, where we are developing a system for monitoring the greenhouse gases. This is in collaboration with people in France also. Okay, but the main idea here is, or the main message is, in our case, we are very interested into create new mathematics, create new tools, and put the mathematics to the service of the different areas, in particular for agriculture, monitoring, and the environment services. Okay, this is a very fast presentation. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, Jaime. So we reached the first part, the first half of our workshop, and we're a little bit late. So I think if we take a 10-minute break, maybe, and we 10, 13, 12, and we reconvene at in Chilean time, let's say 11:35, something like that, 12 minutes. So see you in 12 minutes.
Resources that can collect, store, process, and provide the information needed to get a reliable ecological pest management strategy. It was created specifically for growers and advisors, and they can be guided in their decision day by day in each crop plot. There are discussion forums to exchange information, but it is also an internal tool for the grower. They can follow the sanitary state of the crops and the cultivation conditions, for example. And it's also a tool for monitoring interventions and tracking all events potentially important in the plantation. Slide 6, please. Well, just an example of results. So, you can see that a substantial progress in reducing chemical use have been already obtained. I chose this example because the challenge was high with many pest issues, phytophagous mites, thrips, aphids, whiteflies. Disease issues too, polluted mildew and gray mold due to the climate condition. In this area, the customers accept some damage on the flowers. I remember you that when you sell flowers, it's not only a fruit, but you sell also stems and the tolerance level very often it's a big problem. And in this case, little by little, we used a combination of digital tools and biological solution. So we monitored the facility with the SAM DSS. We practiced an augmentative biological control strategy. There is a biofactory in this area called La Coccinelle. We use also conservation biological control strategy. For example, using again trips and Mesioporus volvulus. It's an indigenous predatory bug. We use also more common solution, predatory mites, parasitoids, wipes, and so on. And we added also some feeding for the biological agents to optimize their implementation in the crops. And we add artemiaceae, it's a shrimps, and Ephesia eggs. Next slide, please. You can see here the results, the comparison between a conventional pesticide protection in the left and 4 years of co-conception and continuous improvement of ecological pest management. In gray, it's you can see fungicides treatment. Red insecticide, and green biocontrol agent treatment. And you can see that we obtain, it was a real life test. We obtain 84 reduction in chemical use. So it's not so bad. You can see that the disease issue is still a problem. The pest concern is more or less okay, but diseases are still a problem. Next slide, please. So the new part of the Furomed V2 is anchored on 3 pillars: research, co-conception, and co-innovation. It's only the research part, as you can see here. And you can see 4 topics. The first one is to find a more efficient use of the physical environment, and it's very important. We try to work on climate determinism of pest and beneficial primary centers cluster, and we try also to modify the light spectrum to contain pest pressure. The global objective on this part is to reduce information provided by the human eye, which is expensive, and to replace it by information given by physical sensor, remote sensor, of course, or even image analysis. So the topic, the following topic, is our objective is to enhance and manage the natural biodiversity with endogenous microorganisms, for example, and we try also to work on soil microbiota to improve plant robustness. You will have a presentation on this point after. The next topic is it's a big topic for us. It's to predict with artificial intelligence and modeling, and of course to enhance the SAM tool with predictive features, and to couple computational fluid dynamics models with plant growth models. The last one is more in relation with social sciences. And we try to understand, to characterize the mechanism of innovation acceptance in agriculture. And when you look at changing agricultural practice, we try to identify social, technical, and economic barriers, and also to characterize the key levers to accelerate the implementation of biological control solutions. Next slide, please. Yes, at the end, you can see that our very next objective is the realization of a new pilot site. It's a kind of showcase of merging expertise in Sofia Antipolis area. It will be a test facility. It's a test facility. It's another tool proposed by the Ministry of Agriculture. Our objectives are large. First, the first objective is to respond to a complex issue requiring the formulation, prototyping, and optimization of operational solution. It's always in real life context. Of course, it's also to enrich and shorten innovation processes, reduce risk of failure for the growers. It's this kind of site is dedicated to growers on training, and they are helped by researchers and professors for each discipline. And at the end, it's the objective is to generate a better connection with and approbation by the stakeholders from different disciplines. I think it's finished. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm gonna stop sharing the. Thank you very much, Christine. Let me find the program. So next, it will be Emanuel Pinto from University of O'Higgins. Manuel, you should be able to share your screen.
It's okay. You are seeing my diapo?
Yes, we're seeing your yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this very interesting workshop. I will talk. I will give a summary about the activities we are starting to develop in our university concerning the Smart-Agro, particularly what we are doing in the fruit industry in our region. As probably you know, but maybe not all, our agriculture, the Chilean agriculture industry has been very successful exporting fruit and wine for very important markets in the world. This is mainly due to the rigorous control of the production factor and good care about the quality all along the chain of production, and also the control of the pests and diseases that are coming from abroad. And this was mainly due to our condition and our climate. In fact, none of this would have been possible without the help of the climate we have in the central part of the country, especially in the Central Valley that goes from Santiago to the south, to Patagonia. But most of the central part of the country, from Santiago or even northern to Concepción, as a very stable Mediterranean climate with good water supply, optimal temperature and radiation condition. All these factors were really good, creating a very good condition for a very successful production of fruit and in good quality. But this paradise is now finishing, because climate change, the global climate change, is affecting very much our country. In fact, according to the last IPCC report, Chile is signaling as the country that will be more suffering or more affected by the global change. Since more than 10 years, the climate change has been dramatically affecting the most important part of the agriculture of the country, particularly decreasing the water supply and increasing the probability of unexpected weather phenomena. So we are really worried. This is arousing big concern, particularly in the agriculture sector, especially in the fruit industry in our region. So what to do? So in the university, because we are located in a very agricultural area, we were thinking about that. We are thinking how to adapt to this new reality, to continue being competitive in this area, how to predict new climate scenarios, how monitoring and manage data to take good decisions and avoid losses. What production strategy and new technology are necessary to adopt? Well, we are finding new answers from smart agriculture. So we decided to establish a program in 2019 to establish this Smart Agro program at the university. Our university is a very new university. It's born in 2016. And it's located 100 kilometers south of Santiago in the O'Higgins region. That is its name. And this region is one of the most important agricultural regions, famous for fruit exportation, vegetable production, and also for wine production. This is why our deep identity of our university with agriculture sector. So we decided to start very recently with the Smart Agro program. This program now is kind of cooperation, and we are integrating resources and capacity from two institutes of our university, the Engineering Science Institute and the Agricultural, Environmental, and Animal Science Institute. So the main objective of our program is to increase the research capacity of smart technology, like precision agriculture, data science, robotics, to develop collaborative projects for capturing, developing, and transferring smart technology to the agriculture sector, and to develop training initiative in order to incorporate smart science into the engineering and agriculture careers. That are the main program. And we have 4 main areas that we are trying to developing. Firstly, is sensory modeling and data science. Secondly, robotic guidance and automation. Third is smart biotechnology and with local biological agents. And fourth, phenotyping and for plant breeding. We have projects in each of these areas, just projects that are starting. You can imagine that that is not possible for the moment for us to have results. However, we are working in, for instance, in proximal sensing in agriculture using computer vision and data science techniques, particularly in a very important crop for the region, that is cherry. We are studying the application to risk management in cherry orchards. In fact, cherry is becoming the most important fruit for exportation in Chile. For a long time, table grape was one of the first, was the most important exporting fruit, but now it's cherry mainly is exported to Asia, in China particularly. This project is led by Rodrigo Berchay, Cristóbal Quiñonao, and Victor Verdugo from the Institute for Engineering Science. What are they doing? They are trying to incorporate intelligent system for forecasting, monitoring, and adoption of precision agriculture in the cherry sector. The cherry sector is affected by many changing factor, climate change, climate factor. And that's why we need to develop predictive models for harvesting volume, for instance, prototype device and imaging collection method for automation during flowering and fruit ripening, protocol for sensor incorporation, imaging acquisition, and data transfer for further processing and storage, and low power, high range communication network and data processing center open to the community. This project is funded by Ecology, is a grant coming from the local government. And we are working with the fruit association growers. We are also thinking about the new scenario that may risk the cherry production in Chile. For instance, we know that now that high temperature during winter is affecting a lot the quality and the production of fruit. Hailstorms during springtime is becoming a risk for our region. Also, heavy rains during flowering and ripening, drought and high temperature in summer also are affecting very much the quality of cherries. For the future, we like to incorporate predictive modeling in pest and disease attacks. So this is what we are doing in terms of cherry. And now we have another project concerning monitoring and data management, which is smart water management for agriculture. This project is led by David Salas and Carolina Reyes. David Salas works more in modeling, and Carolina Reyes is working in the quality of water. This project is funded by the university and the CONICET special funding. CONICET is our council, National Council for Research. In this project, we are working in smart irrigation. We are sensoring. We are working with farmers in sensoring, modeling, and introducing new technology in key crops, particularly in horticulture. Water quality. We have a project that is monitoring the quality of water in different locations of the region. We are measuring heavy metals. We are measuring amount of pesticides that are in the irrigation waters, and we are also analyzing the composition in microbiota of the water of irrigation. We are also working in availability and quality of the water for natural grassland, particularly near of the coast of our region, where the lack of water has been quite important during this last time. In terms of robotics, we are starting a project financed by the university and some Japanese sources. But we started with challenges for establishment of commercial agricultural robots in Chile. So we are doing a diagnostic. What are the main challenges to establish or introduce this new technology, particularly in horticulture? This project is led by Daniel Casagrande and Rodrigo Versailles. But we have also a nice collaboration with the University of Montpellier in France, and also with the Université Nationale de Colombia. This is in an area that we call robotics, guidance, and automation. In Chile, the interest for robotics is really increasing, particularly for big companies and exportation companies, fruit exportation companies, because the increase of labor cost, and also because the need to increase the security in the different step of the chain of production, in the orchard or in the post-harvest activities. That's why now some big companies are importing robots, and they are also testing by themselves. So what we are doing in this project, I said, we are doing a diagnostic in three main aspects. Main design, firstly, main design specification and economic aspect for commercial agricultural robots for the Chilean agriculture. We are focusing in fruit production and vegetable production under greenhouses. Business model for agricultural robotics company, which are comparing with successful business model of robotic company in the medical sector. We are looking for the possibility that also the commercial agricultural robot could include generation of big data for local fruit production and his impact in local environment. For the future, we think that we need to, in order to be successful in introducing robotics in fruit production, we are already thinking that we have to study new varieties and new orchard design to better adapt this new technology in fruit production. Project in study of bacterial species with biotechnological potential, application in mining and in smart agriculture processes. This project is led by Lorena Pizarro and Mauricio Latorre. Lorena Pizarro is for the Institute for Agricultural Research, and Mauricio Latorre is from the Institute of Engineering. This project is funded by the university and for the local industry. Mining industry in our region is quite important. Mining and agriculture are the main industry in our region. And this industry, both industries are interested in the develop biotechnological solution. For instance, to decrease the application of pesticides in fruit, in orchards, and also mining is very interested in decrease the level of soil contamination by heavy metal, particularly for copper. Most important mining of Chile are in the mountain of our region, so contamination of water for this industry is quite important. And this is introducing pollution problems in our cities, but mainly in our soils for agriculture. So this project is what is doing is the first step of this project is collecting bacterial species that are that have potential to be transformed in biological solution for the problem that are mentioned. Finally, we have a project in the field of phenotyping and for plant breeding. In Chile, the climate change is not only due to changes in the atmospheric part, but also in soils. What we are observing in our region and the other regions south of O'Higgins, that the main crops are replacing to the south, looking for better condition of better temperature condition, and also looking for water. But at the same time, there's a change of the quality of soils. So what is doing this is that is obligating to the farmer to look on the soil, underground. And for that, we are working in a breeding program for roosters, for roosters for vegetables and also for fruit trees. So we are very interested in phenotyping roots, which is not quite easy. This project is led by Daniel Casagrande and Rodrigo Contreras. Daniel Casagrande is an engineer that's working in imaging processing, and Rodrigo Contreras is a breeder. This funding is, this project is funded by the university and for policy. Till now, the phenotyping technologies for root phenotyping is based in 1 or 2 dimension images. What they are doing is looking for 3-dimension imaging, and they are creating a new tools for explore the soils and phenotype the distribution and the architecture and morphology of the roots in cucumbers, in cherries, the rooster for cherries, and rooster for grapevine. And now we are getting some imaging, preliminary imaging in 3 dimensions. So the objective is to develop low-cost camera, because at the moment there are 3-dimension it's a 3-dimension prototypes that are getting imaging in that condition, but they are very expensive. So they are developing this prototype for data acquisition and reconstruction the root in three dimensions. And for that, and doing that, they expect to phenotype and to discover the genetic variation in different morphological features. So this is an ongoing project, and for the future, they expect to patent and explore commercialization of the device. So that's all the project that we are developing at the University of here. Je voudrais vous remercier pour votre attention. Voilà mon email, and thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Manuel, for your presentation. And now I think here the speaker is Joël Polidori.
Yes.
And I think
hello.
you're able to share your screen.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
I think it's resizing, trying to resize. We see half of it.
It's okay like that?
Yes.
So I will present to you the company Microphyto. I'm Joël Polidori. I'm working as an engineer at Microphyto. The innovation of Microphyto is based on native symbiotic fungi called AMF, arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. So the Microphyto developed a patented solution for the inoculation of native arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi in crops to restore durable natural synergy with the plant roots. Microphyto was created in 2017. There are 2 founding members. It's Justine Lipuma and Christine Poncet. And Microphyto, it's a spin-off of the INRAE, it's National Institute of Agronomical Research, and the UCA, it's University of Côte d'Azur. The company is winner of a national innovation competition in 2019 for the iLab, and this year for the ADD and INNOV. Sorry. The company created 11 jobs in 4 years. So I will present to you the team. So the team, it's with Justine Lipuma, and there is a 4 groups for the research and the development, the production, the project and development and administrative. So Microphyto have international exposure and territory network with the scientific council with the professor of Turino University, Paolo Bonfante. She is a specialist of Microwizard. And the business council with 5 people from several companies. And after, for the strategic committee with the investor and the partner and support with the INRAE, Furimed, and the other organisms. So for our know-how, the specific symbiosis. So we're working of Microwizard Symbiosis. So this symbiosis stimulates the growth, immunity, and quality of more than 85% of Earth plants. So on the picture on the left of your screen, you can see a part without mycorrhization and with mycorrhization. And when the plants are mycorrhized, there is several benefits as resistance to foliar pathogen, drought tolerance, salt tolerance, and resistance of root pathogen, resistance to heavy metal toxicity, and there is an increasing of the exchange area and optimize the nutrient transfer, and there is a network IFEA, and the IFEA produce glomalin, and they catch water and they can give the water to the roots. And for the picture on the right, you can see it's a vine, and you can see spore inactive and spore active. So in the soil, the goal to Microphyto is to keep the spores from the soil, and then after we multiply the spore, and after we inoculate the active spore. So so for the next slide, in the crop culture, we can find several problems or factors as soil devitalization and the reduction of the natural resources, climate change, and we need an agroecological transition and input reduction. So at Microphyto, the ambitious goal is to revitalize the soil with the inoculation of native AMF, arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, to improve the natural biodiversity of the soil, increase the yield and quality of the crops, and reduce the environmental impact of crops and adapt to climate change. So for the next slide, I will present to you the Microphyto offer. So there is a part with the research and development. So with internal research on mycorrhization and AMF production, and research project on target plants. We have current offers. So the first offer is MicroDiff, and it consists to soil sampling, physical and chemical analysis, soil mycorrhizal potential, and the identification to the specific AMF species. So after, we have another offer. It's MicroStart. It's to we produce native or indigenous AMF mixed production. We are doing the plant inoculation, and after we can validate the symbiosis, and we will measure the impact of the mycorrhization and count the number of the spore in the soil, and we can check the mycorrhization on the roots. So with we have other offer in progress, like MicoDev and iLine. It's to be to industrial development and sell a finished product containing species of AMF native and specific to geographical area and specific plants. So the target market, it's perfume, aromatic, and medicinal plants, vine, and arboriculture. So for the next slide, Microphyto field of expertise in the microization of trees such as olive tree, lavender, tomato, rose. And the goal is to grow stimulation, yield increase, and lower input. And Microphyto is implicated in a project called Micolab to find solution with the dieback of lavender and lavender in the France in Provence. The idea was to inoculate the root system of plants with native arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi to reduce the dieback. The study showed that the plant yield status influence root colonization and can influence the diversity and distribution of root AMF communities. For the other slide, we'll present a partnership project. It's called, the name is Microwizard. It's a collaboration between a bank, Crédit Agricole, a vine estate, Château Sainte-Rosile in France, and experimental organism, Centre du Rosé and Microphyto. The goal of Microwizard is to validate a specific and personalized inocula for a specific soil and culture for the vine. And we would like to have knowledge of the gain in terms of productivity, quality, and final product, the wine vinified by Château Sainte-Rosile. We have other research project with INRIA to develop a predictive model of arbuscular mycorrhiza fungi and develop new tools for identification, diagnosis, characterization of native mycorrhizal fungi. So for the last slide, sorry, we are doing experiments of Microphyto on a perfume plant, tree, vegetable plants. I can show you two results. So an experiment on roses and tomatoes. So for this experiment, we made respectively a mix illustrated from original soil for the experiment of roses and the experiment for the tomato. For the first experiment for the roses, we will see a significant increase of the number of the rose, and we can see a development of the roots, the increase of development of the roots. For the tomato, on the right, you can we test a negative control, so without mycorrhiza, with commercial generic AMF, it's Rhizophagus irregularis, and indigenous AMF, we can see 25% of average yield per plant for the fruit, and we can see an increase of the roots development. So I'm finished, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Joel. We have Juan Pablo next. Pablo, there you are.
propose some PhD
I think you're mute.
that will be dedicated.
Manon, ok. Je vais faire la présentation. Manon, je vais faire la présentation de INIA. Ok. La chose qu'on travaille sur la surveillance électronique des variables météorologiques dans l'agriculture au niveau des cultures forcées ou au niveau des serres. Je vais raconter un peu la situation horticole du Chili et la situation des niveaux technologiques de serre et les choses qu'on est en train de faire à INIA. On va montrer quelques applications de surveillance électronique des variables météorologiques au niveau des serres pour améliorer et optimiser les pratiques agronomiques pour les agriculteurs chiliens. Le secteur horticole, par rapport au secteur des fruitiers, c'est moins important. Il y a 86 000 hectares pour la production horticole au Chili. Au niveau de INIA, on travaille en contrôle du climat, structure au niveau des serres, par exemple, et on travaille en la diversification des cultures, porte-greffe, et les choses qu'on va, et différents sujets, contrôle intégré des maladies, et aussi on travaille en la récupération des espèces natives ou locales qui sont importantes pour le Chili, et aussi l'utilisation de biostimulants et de différents substrats au niveau de serre. Chili, la région plus importante, c'est la région de Valparaíso et la région d'Arica et Parinacota. Et plus moins, en Valparaíso, nous avons 56% de la surface au niveau de serre. Okay. Les légumes plus importants, c'est la tomate fraîche, et 59% de la surface c'est orienté à la tomate fraîche, et après poivre, concombre. Ici, nous avons ici les niveaux technologiques au niveau de serre, à niveau qui c'est un schéma. Le Chili, les niveaux technologiques c'est bas. Et nous avons au long de notre pays, grande partie de ces niveaux de technologie, de serres qui sont construits avec bois. Et c'est ça, c'est les niveaux plus élevés, par exemple, en Europe. Je vais vous montrer les types et les applications qu'on peut faire avec des surveillances électroniques ou monitoring digital pour améliorer les infrastructures des serres au Chili. C'est ça, sont des serres typiques qu'on fait. C'est le volume qui s'utilise au Chili pour les cultures, par exemple les tomates, 3 mètres cubiques par mètre carré. Et c'est le système au Chili des serres, c'est tout à fait différent à les serres qu'il y a en France, la Bretagne, que les niveaux technologiques sont plus élevés. Et c'est de construction de serres au Chili. Et c'est ça, par exemple, en Europe, en Italie, il y a différentes technologies pour faire la monitorisation, disons, des données. OK, et par exemple, ce sont des technologies plus élevées, c'est ça, il y a des contrôles des climats dans les serres. Et le but de la chose qu'on fait à INIA, c'est l'estimation des conditions météorologiques à l'intérieur des serres pour la production de, par exemple, tomates locales, utilisant l'information des stations météorologiques à proximité. Par exemple, au Chili, tous les serres, on a des problèmes à niveau de haute température dans l'été. Et il faut réduire l'excès de chaleur. Et il faut tester, il faut avoir des données pour changer les différents types de structures pour éliminer le stress pour température élevée. Et nous avons un travail avec des petites machines pour les petits agriculteurs. On puisse enregistrer les différentes températures, les données pour optimiser, par exemple, l'utilisation en management de la culture. Et on a fait avec l'entreprise différents types de contrôles au niveau des téléphones, des petits agriculteurs, et on puisse les donner information pour faire les pratiques plus optimales pour éliminer la chaleur, par exemple, à niveau des serres. Ici, nous sommes... Ici, nous avons des différents types de serres au niveau de Chili. Nous sommes en train de tester avec une information, des données, Arica, la zone centrale, et aussi à Punta Arenas. Okay? Je vais les donner un exemple qu'on fait ensemble avec l'Université du Chili, et d'estimer avec les stations météorologiques, on peut estimer en fonction des modèles les températures dans les serres. Et par exemple, ici, c'est une serre d'agriculteurs de tomates locales. C'est la vallée de Limache. Okay? Et on peut tester, il y a 3 stations météorologiques. C'est ça une station météorologique de l'État chilien. C'est ça la station météorologique de Davis. Ici, c'est FDF. Et on peut, avec les données, avec des modèles, on peut estimer le comportement des températures et humidité, par exemple, dans les serres. C'est la chose qu'on est en train de faire avec l'Université du Chili. Comme ça, on peut, c'est les données, par exemple, des serres. C'est ça, c'est la modélisation des températures en fonction des différentes stations météorologiques pour le mois de décembre et pour le mois de janvier. OK, par exemple, c'est les mois plus chaleureux et qu'il y a des problèmes. Et aussi, on peut estimer la humidité relative dedans les serres. Ici, c'est avec les devices. On a les données, et c'est ça, c'est le modèle. Et comme ça, on peut estimer la température des serres utilisant les stations météorologiques plus proches des serres. C'est ça, c'est très intéressant parce que avec des modèles, on peut aussi aller à modifier les dessins des serres au Chili. Et au niveau du Chili, les serres sont presque les mêmes. Et comme ça, on peut avoir un outil pour changer la structure et la hauteur des serres. Et aussi, dans les modèles, on met aussi la culture et la taille des plantes. Et c'est ça, les conclusions, l'incorporation de nouvelles technologies de surveillance électronique nous permet de stimuler les microclimats de la serre pour optimiser la gestion agronomique en conditions de serre. Par exemple, les agriculteurs, avec l'information téléphone, on peut commencer à faire pratique pour l'optimisation de l'irrigation, par exemple, ou pour le contrôle des maladies. Et on peut associer ça. Et aussi, la simulation des microclimats à niveau de serre. Et notre étude est en fonction de la distance de la station météorologique au serre. Et c'est ça, c'est intéressant parce que au Chili, la qualité des données aussi, par exemple, en la région de Valparaiso, les stations météorologiques sont très bas. Il faut faire des modèles pour, avec, comme il n'y a pas beaucoup de stations météorologiques, il faut faire des modèles pour estimer les températures au niveau des serres. C'est la chose qu'on fait. Et c'est ça, je veux remercier à Centre de mathématiques de l'Université du Chili, aussi à la Faculté de sciences agronomiques de l'Université du Chili, qui ont travaillé ensemble pour avoir des choses pratiques pour les agriculteurs. Et ces modèles, on peut aussi utiliser au niveau des fruticultures pour utiliser des modèles, des systèmes forcés pour par exemple, pour les cérès, qu'on peut changer les conditions à niveau de la culture, à niveau des arbres fruitiers. J'ai montré ça, les choses qu'on fait. C'est ça on fait avec un projet de Corfo, aussi un projet du ministère de l'Agriculture, et on essaie de faire au niveau de Arica Punta Arenas pour tester des données des serres au niveau du Chili. C'est ça, c'est la chose que je vais vous montrer, les choses qu'on fait en INIA ensemble avec des universités au Chili. OK.
Merci, Juan Pablo.
Oui, j'espère que vous avez compris. Thank you very much.
Très bien.
Très bien. Okay, so coming up to our, if you can stop sharing your screen, thank you. So now we come to our last talk of the day. The morning for us, the afternoon for you. And it's Pia Parolin.
Hola.
Hola,
la última presentación del día.
Sí.
Yes. Hello, I'm Pia. I'm from INRAE UNT Fiorimed, and I give this presentation, which I prepared together with Johan Thomas. And I'm going to share what we are doing in the platform called SAM. So the information system SAM, which can be one key to success for ecological farming. And now it's not working. Okay, so the aims of SAM are, it's designed for farmers. It's meant to enhance the transition from chemical pesticides to biological control strategies. And it starts with ecological pest management, and it's meant to monitor crop health. The targets of SAM are on the one hand, for advisors to track and monitor in-field actions, to record the diagnosis, and to focus on the requirements and give help. And for the researchers, the targets are that we receive time series on a specific field and culture, that we cross-analyze the data, and that we share the results. So the data that we are gaining are biological data, which are hard to harvest, which means biological data with quality, with replicability, and with usage. And the data safety is critical. So that's a very important issue that we are focusing on, because the producers are not happy to communicate this. And the data are very heterogeneous. We collect weather data in field and local. They are viewer dependent, and we use sensor and traps to do this. So, and then we try to use the data for modeling. So I present you just a few screenshots of this platform, which is online. And so here you see the first side, and then you get inside, and there you can leave comments, you can enter the dates and the calendar, you can enter the local weather and the data related to your plots. And then I give just a short example which can be used by the farmers, for example, to recognize rose pests. Yes, the pests on the roses, sorry, this is double. So, for example, whitefly, which is a common pest on roses, it's explained at the different stages of its development, and you can find these, once you put in your data, you can find the results, which might explain what is happening in your field. This is just a very simple example. So we have for the crop management, we have the plots with the technical and the graphical descriptions. We have the field data where we have the day-to-day sampling, the quick sampling method, and the planned action. And we have the site with the pests, with user set variables and the data pool. And then we have the follow-up analysis where we offer support and advice. The overall guidelines, there are sheets for dissemination, there is an ease for the transition process, and the share with pairs and other specialists. So here are some more screenshots so that you get an idea. It's very small, but it's just to show you that we have a lot of input with data on pests and on responses of the plants. We have the display of the climatic graphics, and these data are all related to each other with the plot sites and the plants and the crops and the pests and everything. Here is also the display of the maps and the distribution of the variables. So we have all these data in this platform. So the output is the display of the observed and measured variables in this case. So what happens next? SAM is functional, but it's not yet officially launched. So it's close to be launched. We are at a pre-commercial level, and the database is growing, and there is a new version pending, which will be released in December of this year. The technologies used are React.js and SQL databases and API to retrieve the results from the sensors. And the next step that are planned right now are the scientific co-conception. So we will strengthen the interaction with local producers, improve the prediction models. We will secure the phytosanitary management at the farm level. And we are thinking about new perspectives, broader views, and cooperations. So this is open for discussion, particularly with you here, with our friends from Chile. And also other next steps are the access to the market, to define a business model, to find a cooperative company to embrace all the shareholders, to find limited costs for the final users, obviously, and yes, to stay in development and find innovations. So this was a very brief overview. I already finished my presentation. I'm not sure if Johan or Christine or Ricardo or someone wants to give some more input. Otherwise, we are happy to discuss things with you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Pia, and thanks for your brief but complete presentation. And I don't know if Ricardo, you want to lead some discussion at this point?
Okay, more than a discussion now, I think it's not the time for discussion. We can talk about what we think or we can do, what we can do together, what we can foresee to how to collaborate in the future. We have seen a very, very big, nice picture of the work we do in each part of the ocean, of the Atlantic, North and South. Also, we see that we are really, really complementary. I think we can learn from each other. You are in that part of the Atlantic. You are mainly working on what is now important for you. I've seen a lot of work about water and water use optimization. We have seen some new, a new university that tries to deal with new new disciplines in agriculture, like robotics, and they are starting very, probably is the moment to start in that also. And there is a common concern about for all of us, that is climate change and how this is going to impact what we are doing now, the agriculture of today, and the exportations, main for exportations for Chile, and also for the way of production here in France or in Europe, where we are very, very interested in biological control, in sustainable production, a combination of energy and agricultural production and so on. So as Christine asked in the beginning of the workshop, I hope all the presentations will be available to share. I think we can learn with more consciously, with a little bit more time reading what each one of us has presented. And then try to, I think what we can, more than talking about this, we can talk about how to follow up with this. I mean, now this was in the beginning the opportunity to know each other, to know what we do, each one in its place, and then try to see what the others do, and try to think how to collaborate in the future. For that, we have no time. Avec Tanya, we thought in this kind of tools we have now with Zoom, of working with cards and keywords and what is important for one and for others. But I think there is no time, and I think we have a little bit time to all this information we got today to settle in our minds, and then, but we can think how to continue with this. I mean, now Tanya have all the information about all the email addresses of everybody has been connected to the workshop. I think we could try to pass a query, to know what are your interests after what you have seen today. What kind of collaboration are you envisaging? And these kind of things. I think we can work 1, 2, 3 weeks in preparing una encuesta, sorry. Una enquête en français, una encuesta en español. I have forgotten in English, sorry.
Sorry.
And try to see how can we collaborate, or what kind of collaboration we can envisage for the future. This is just a question for all of us. What do you think? How can we continue this follow-up, this connection of today in the near future? Alejandro, probably, or Christine or
No, I want to say that I think it's a very good idea, Ricardo. I think to follow up in this order way you propose with an enquete. And just to try to feel also, you know, there are some ways to try to feel how we can connect each other. In any case, next Thursday, we need to give some conclusions. So maybe we can work a little bit in your own summary. In fact, Ricardo, that was very good.
Yes.
next Thursday. Anyway, just from my point of view, that is quite, it's not from the agronomy. I can see that I saw a lot of connections, possible connections, and I try to be concrete also to propose things to our authorities, maybe to invent some common programs, you know, between Chile and France in agronomy. Now we have in math, in computer science, in climate, and I think agronomy with France, I think. And this was launched by CNRS in the past, and some other institutions. So maybe it's a moment for agronomy too, I think, to have some formal programs to collaborate. I don't know. After looking all those presentations, I think it's quite natural. But this is something different. Just I'm thinking some political issues that we can also start from here.
Today we show all the pieces of the puzzle, and now the next work, the next steps are to build this puzzle among all the information we gave, to think in possible projects and collaborations for the near future.
I think Francisco, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you very much for. I think it's a very productive meeting and a lot of information flowing, and so my first reaction would be that we need a way to systematically extract common points, perhaps by looking at keywords from all presentations, and probably a small task force that produces something like that, like the most evident and low-hanging fruits that we can all benefit from. I'd like to take the opportunity to also thank my colleagues from Chile, because it is weird, but it's not usual that we see all the presentations from our side, and I was very impressed and pleased to see what is being done by my colleagues here. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Francisco. So we're
everybody
yes?
to write its email address in the discussion, so we can collect all these addresses to contact you afterwards.
Yes. So for my part, I just want to say I'm very pleased that natural organisms were considered smart agriculture. I think it's a very interesting way forward. I think all the microbiological area is growing very, very fast. There's endless tools there for a more sustainable agriculture, and I think if we can combine them with all the modeling, probably then we can do carry out an agriculture that is not look upon as too damaging to the environment, and I think we should put a lot of energy into that. Christine, Go ahead.
Just, well, as Ricardo said, I think that we have many elements of complementarity, and it's very interesting. I think it's important at this stage to co-construct together without being restricted by the thematic framework of the call for tender. And we need to be agile, reactive, and we need just to be ready when the funding opportunities arise. We have to work before without any restriction. And after, little by little, if the course are okay, maybe we will be able to put some topics, collaborations, and so on. But right now, I think that we can think together, initiate the collaboration with no restriction.
Excellent. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if anybody else wants to add something.
Any other comment for the follow-up of this workshop?
Okay, so I think we can finish here. We can think of a summary of what we had today for a wrap-up meeting on Thursday. But I think probably the idea would be to plan on maybe smaller meetings with topics, very close topics, and see how we can move forward there. Probably looking for some funding. Yes, always good to have.
Just one last question, please. All the presenters, give your presentations, or send your presentations to Tanya, and we will share it